You know, have you ever really thought about the power hiding inside a simple hello? We're going to dive into a pretty wild psychological tactic that, believe it or not, works its magic in that exact moment. One of the most common interactions you have like every single day.
I know, it sounds a little out there, right? But what if I told you that your polite, totally automatic response, saying, I'm fine, could actually be opening the door for someone to persuade you? Yup, that's exactly what we're going to break down. See, it all starts with just one surprisingly powerful question. We're talking about the "how are you" trap. It's a phrase we all use, completely on autopilot. But in the world of persuasion, that automatic answer, it carries way more weight than you'd ever guess.
And look, this isn't just some pop psychology theory you'd read online. It's actually grounded in real research from back in 1990 by a psychologist, Daniel J. Howard. He got really curious about the influence of this simple greeting, and let me tell you, what he found was pretty stunning. So he gave this phenomenon a great name, the foot-in-the-mouth effect. Now, don't get confused, this has nothing to do with saying something embarrassing. It's actually a really clever compliance tactic. It's all about how getting you to say you're feeling good makes it so much harder for you to say no just a few seconds later.
Yeah, you can think of it like a little 1-2 punch in a conversation. The first punch, that's the greeting that gets a positive answer out of you. And the second, that's the request that comes right after. The real key here is that the first step totally sets up the second. Without it, the whole thing just falls apart.
And what's so brilliant about this is how simple the experiment was. I mean, Howard didn't need some complex lab or crazy elaborate setup. Nope, he just used something we all know really, really well, a simple phone call.
Okay, so picture this. The researchers start calling people at home completely out of the blue. For one group of people, they just jump right into their request. But for the other group, they start with that simple little question. Hi, how are you this evening? And only after they got that typical polite answer, I'm fine, thanks, then they'd ask for a charity donation. That tiny, tiny difference in the opening, well, it turned out to be everything.
And here's the kicker. The group that was asked, how are you, and said something positive, well, they were way more likely to donate. It's like just by getting them to say, I'm good, their natural defenses against a sales pitch just kind of melted away.
Okay, but why? I mean, why does this work so darn effectively? It just seems too simple to actually be real, right? What is going on inside our brains in that split second? To really get it, we've got to dive into the psychology of compliance. So, what's making us say yes? Well, it turns out that simple little greeting activates two really powerful psychological principles. They're super subtle, but man, they work together to make us a whole lot more agreeable. Okay, reason number one, it creates a tiny social bond. I mean, even though it's basically a scripted exchange, that little back and forth, it moves you from being a total stranger to being someone who's, engaged in a polite social ritual. Suddenly, you're not just a target anymore, you're two people having a nice, quick interaction. And then there's the second reason, which might be even more powerful. It's a mild form of commitment. Think about it. When you say out loud, I'm doing well, you've basically just publicly announced that you're in a positive state. And our brains are totally hardwired to value consistency. We have this deep, deep need for our actions to line up with our words.
And that's the trap. How can a person who just said they're doing well and feeling fine immediately turn around and refuse to help someone, especially after you've made that little social bond? It creates this mental friction. To stay consistent with what you just said, you feel this internal pressure to be helpful, to be agreeable. It's tough to say no.
All right, so this isn't just some dusty old experiment from a textbook. Now that you know the secret, I promise you're going to start seeing this everywhere. In fact, I'd bet money this has been used on you, maybe even sometime this week.
I mean, this is basically page 1 of the playbook for telemarketers and salespeople. Seriously, think about it. That friendly person at the store who asks how your day's going, they're not just making small talk, they're setting the stage. That charity worker on the street who opens with a warm, how are you today, they're doing the exact same thing. They're priming you to be agreeable. And the absolute genius of it is how subtle it is. It doesn't feel like a pushy sales tactic at all, does it? It just feels like a normal, everyday human interaction. And that is precisely why it works so incredibly well. It just completely bypasses our critical thinking and taps right into our social conditioning. So, after all of this, what's the one crucial thing you should take away from all this? Well, it all really boils down to a final question you should ask yourself the next time you find yourself in this situation. And here it is, the key takeaway.
Look, the goal here isn't to become cynical or, to be rude to people who are just trying to be friendly. It's simply about being mindful. Just understanding how persuasion works is the best defense against it. It gives you that split second to pause and make a conscious choice instead of just an automatic one.
So, I'll leave you with that thought. The next time a stranger asks how you are, you'll know exactly what might be coming next. And you'll be ready for it. So, just between us, how are you?